Or to,
people full time. It's 6:05, and I know people kind of always commit to being to these things and sometimes don't show up. But I will tell you guys that if you stayed tonight and you're struggling on your healing journey, you're going to get a lot of information for free. That if you adhere to it and you follow to it, you will definitely have a lot of tools that can get you started on getting your life back. For you guys that don't know, I'm Josh, and I don't know if Joe
Joe.
and Vanessa
Yeah.
want to introduce themselves.
Yeah. What's up, guys? I'm Joe. I'm other half of the Healing Dudes.
Hey, buddy. What? Can you bring me a pen and a pencil, please? Pen and a pen? Yeah.
Please
Probably
Nope.
mute
not.
yourself, guys.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, just remember to, yeah, mute yourselves in case. I know a lot of us will forget.
Yeah.
I'm Vanessa. For those of you who don't know me, I'm happy to be here with Josh and Joe, two of the most awesome dudes in this community.
Awesome. Thank you. So, guys, the whole purpose of this is, we've known Vanessa now for about a year, and we try to align with people that are authentic and truly want to help other people heal. Obviously, as you guys know, we all have services that we offer, but tonight is about what we can give back to the community. Joe and I
Or
are
being
still,
available to listen.
Might need to mute some people, Josh.
I think that was a wild alpaca. Okay. But as we, hold on, there's another one. Yeah,
Yeah.
guys, if you could please mute your mics, guys, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, I'm going to go through and globally mute everybody, which I might do anyways. But anyways, Joe and I are still on our healing journey. We started about a year and a half ago, and we're at about probably 75, 80%. I'll let Vanessa share her number, but I know that she's experienced great healing as well. And when we begin to heal, when we begin to see life come back, one of the first things that we wanted to do is share this with people, as we know that people have been, being chronically sick really sucks the life out of you. So, that's that's what this whole thing is about, is sharing the science behind neuroplasticity, mind body healing, and nervous system regulation, and how it can help you with chronic illness. What we're going to do is we're going to go through a brief outline. Joe, Vanessa, and myself will share some of the science behind what it is we do, and behind neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation as a whole. And then we'll open up at the end for some questions, and we encourage you guys to stick around to the very end. Vanessa is giving away, I believe, 1 month free to her popular Haven class, which is absolutely incredible. She's helped countless people get their lives back. And Joe and I will be giving away one of our Do the Work journals, which
Yeah.
is incredible. It's a workbook / journal, and then our No BS healing guide. So it's a great, it's a great companion. If you do the work, and it'll definitely help you heal. So without further ado, I'm actually going to share my story. Then I'm going to pop it over to Joe and then Vanessa, and we're going to basically share where we came from, why this is important to us, and how we got better.
Yep.
So without further ado, like I said, my name is Josh Cutler. I had Lyme disease for 17 years. For those of you that have been in the Lyme community, you might have heard of my name, or if you do a quick Google search, Josh Cutler Lyme disease, a whole lot of stuff is going to come up. I was very, very, very active in the Lyme community, working on Capitol Hill. I became very sick. I got sick in 2006, lost my career, my house, my cars, filed bankruptcy, all that jazz, was super sick, in bed, developed neuropathy from the waist down. And I'm giving you guys the most quick version as possible because we all got to get through our stories. And became hopeless. I didn't know I had Lyme disease till 2009, and was diagnosed with everything from fibromyalgia to chronic fatigue syndrome to MS. They found white matter spots in my brain. Around 2009, I started to develop neuropathy in my legs, as well as severe anxiety, depression, heart palpitations, dizziness, off balance, bouts of pain all throughout my body, muscle twitches. I mean, there's hundreds of symptoms, guys, that I could literally go on and on and on about. And I became bed sick. My children were my caretaker, or my child at the time. I have 4 children, father of 4, was my caretaker. I couldn't get off the couch. I couldn't do anything. I went from doctor to doctor, Mayo Clinic to John Hopkins to hyperbaric oxygen, IV ozone, bee venom therapy, IV antibiotics, had a PICC line in, was really, really, really sick to the point where I became full-blown agoraphobic. I was fearful of everything. I thought I was dying. I would call 911 twice a week. ride in the ambulance, stays in the cardiac ICU. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I was really, really, really sick. Losing my marriage. Nobody believed that I was sick until I really started to look sick. Had a bout with benzodiazepines as they were prescribed. And from 2009 up until the past year and a half, I was really, really, really sick. I didn't want to live anymore. I'd given up. I was sick of being in the hospital. And I just, I got sick at 26. And at 42, I realized that so much of my life had gone away that I'd put such a heavy reliance on doctors to come save me and medications and new emerging treatments and all these different things, and nothing ever got me better. Quite the opposite. I seemed to get worse. And I didn't really realize the role that I played in my own healing. Now, I want to put a huge emphasis on this, guys. I was bed sick. I can literally pick my laptop off up and show you my couch that I've showed to my class every so often with the indentation of my couch of where I would get up every single day, and I would go from the bed to the couch, from the couch to the bed, and it was a good day if I had a shower. I wasn't walking, I wasn't doing anything of that. And then, fast forward to about a year and a half, I really started to get better. I'd given up on conventional treatments, and my story kind of bleeds into Joe's. But as we started to do the work, I started to get my life back, and it was one of the most difficult things that I ever did. But when I realized that there was no one coming to save me, that I was literally wasting years of my precious, fleeting life laying on the couch, that I had to get up and do something, that it wasn't a doctor's responsibility to come save me, that it wasn't, my spouse or friends or anybody, but it was 100% on me. And there was no magic pill that was going to help my chronic illness. And I'm about to flip it over to Joe. Before we go any further, if anybody here knows of a miracle cure for chronic illness, please stand up, because I still would love to take that miracle pill. Miracle pill. Okay, cool. I didn't think anybody did. So what I found is neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation, along with several other key factors that Joe and I have kind of put in this. We found that.
Mom, I can't. Sorry.
No,
I'm watching this.
We found that we started to get our lives back, and it wasn't a quick thing, but thankfully I can tell you now, after all of those years, I coached full-time high school basketball last year. We're running the Healing Dudes. I am the full-time parent of four kids. And, since then I've raced, I've gone to concerts, I've flown across the country. I've done all these things that I never thought I would have done. And it is simply because of the work that we're going to talk about tonight. And Joe will kind of talk about where our stories intersect as he shares his story. So,
Yeah, I'll kind of pick it up because Josh and I have known one another for, I mean, almost 20 years now. I feel like it's been like 17 years, and we stayed connected for a little while. Our stories really mirror one another. I got sick initially in 2005 with Lyme disease. I was in college at the time. I was 21 and had to drop out of college. Again, similar to I'm sure a lot of people, you go from doctor to doctor. I had all of the, we don't know what's wrong with you, it's all in your head, to people saying maybe you have MS, to chronic fatigue syndrome. And then finally I was diagnosed with Lyme disease after about a year of searching, and spent several years, about 3 to 4 years of like trying all sorts of things. And I mean, when we talk about we've tried everything, like we truly have. We've been and I would see a limited success here and there, and then maybe like a little bit of improvement, but I would fall back down and be just as sick as I was before, if not worse at times. And then around 2008, 2009, I stumbled upon stories of people getting better. And these were unconventional things. It was people from like chronic fatigue syndrome to MS. And back in that time, there was not a lot of talk about nervous system regulation or neuroplasticity, but there was people like Joe Dispenza talking about, mind body healing and things like that, and the power of mindset and, meditation, visualization, all of these things. And so back then in 2008, 2009, I really started like, diving into this and started, taking ownership of where I was playing a role in my own illness, of keeping myself sick, of staying, in victim mentality, of, looking at, all the doom and gloom and fears over my illness and all of that sort of stuff. And over about a course of a couple of years, I really, took ownership of my own health problems, and I began to shift everything away from that of being a victim to one of being empowered and doing the things that I could do for my health and beginning to live my life as I was healing. And I completely healed. I consider whatever remission you want to call it. Um, and went back to school, finished my degree, worked as an art director in advertising for over a decade. Um, During that time, I kind of fell back in some unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle habits. I forgot a lot of the things that got me initially well. And ultimately, I was just, in a lot of stress as well with my job and some other external factors. And 2 years ago, I got um, COVID, which then turned into long COVID, which then turned into full on relapse with Lyme. Um, and this is where Josh and I reconnected. At that time, I was very, very sick. I was just as sick as I was, 15 years ago. Had to quit my job, all of these things. And I did remember, I was like, I remember how to get well. I remember how to get well. And that's, I started stumbling upon the nervous system work. And I was like, oh, this is what I did to heal, 15 years ago. Now there's programs and stuff like that. And so Josh extended an offer for me to come down and live with him in Florida, which is where I live now. And we began healing together, and this is where the Healing Dude started. And we set out on a mission to not only be a voice for males in the healing community, but to also share the healing journey as we are healing. Not just from the end point, but we wanted to give people hope and show the journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and downs. And that's what started with the Healing Dudes, and then we started our healing boot camps. And like Josh said, both of us have healed significantly. Neither of us live limited lives really at this point. We do whatever we want. We still deal with symptoms. They are significantly reduced, or a lot of them are gone, but it's still up and down. It's an up and down journey, and we are truthful and transparent about that. But we want to give hope and help people to find that belief that they can heal too, and to show the journey as it goes on. So that's kind of the brief story. There's so much more, but we want to dive into the materials. So I'm going to pass it over to Vanessa to share her story, and then we'll go into some more details about stuff, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Joe and Josh. Like those are such testimonies of healing. For sure, you guys have such a long journey here in this community, right? On both ends, right? In the chronic illness community, but also in the healing community. And I'm so glad that we connected. So my story, I'm sure many of you have already heard it because I recognize many of your names. But really started for me in 2009. But as I look back, I can see dysregulation from, as far back as I can remember. There was trauma, traumatic loss, eating disorders, anxiety, depression, all throughout my childhood. But the symptoms, they really didn't come up, and I didn't become, I guess, chronically ill until 2009, where I had contracted a parasite in Vietnam. It was a deadly parasite, and by the time they had found it, it had done significant damage to my nervous system and the rest of my body. And that's where the symptoms started. And even though we got rid of it and I was able to recover, I never fully recovered. So that was 2009. It was literally right when I got engaged, got a new house, top of my career, everything's going amazing, life is abundant. And I'm just catapulting down, like crashing down. And yeah, I was like in and out of hospitals, ERs, doctors were like, there's nothing wrong with you, it's just anxiety. And, it felt like every single year from 2009 until, 2019, essentially, I was collecting diagnoses, and everything from chronic migraine, vestibular migraine, I had severe vestibular stuff. I was even diagnosed with Meniere's disease, small fiber neuropathy, POTS syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. I don't have to list them. You guys get the point. But I had literally between 2009 and 2019, I was given over 50 diagnoses, like actual diagnoses. And my phone book, like the amount of specialists I could call at a click of a button was wild. And I just got sicker and sicker. I was lucky enough to have two beautiful children during this time, although I could not raise them. I could not be a mother at all. I could not be a wife. I could not work. I couldn't cook. I mean, at my worst, I couldn't feed myself or bathe myself or even go to the bathroom on my own. I had to fully rely on someone else. And I was even hospitalized for months at a time with gastroparesis and just not being able to even sit up without, you know what happens. So it's just felt like my brain really forgot how to do all of the regular functions. I was completely debilitated. I actually died on one occasion, um, literally flatlined, and then on another occasion was close to where my husband was actually planning my funeral. He just, how do we tell the kids? How do we tell the kids mommy's never going to come home? It was that bad. And doctors had no answers. They gave me the runaround. You're just going to have to live like this, or you're going to just get worse. Make peace with it. This is your life now. These are the medications you're on, 12 a day. I mean, everything from benzos to PPIs to anti-seizure medication to all of the above. And, it was devastating. But, a part of me didn't give up hope. And so I kept searching, and it was a God thing, and I won't go into the whole story of it, but God brought neuroplasticity and brain retraining into my life. And I started to rewire my brain in 2018, really slowly, and I started to heal and I started to recover. And by, I guess closer to 2020, right before the pandemic, I was like, oh wow, things are, a lot. I went back to work, and then the world shuts down, which was hilarious because it was literally the week I went back to my job. And but anyhow, long story short, I got my life back. I started to coach others, and then I had another perfect storm in 2021 November where my family and I contracted COVID, and my father passed away within 2 weeks. And it was sudden, traumatic. It was I'm still processing it, and that's where I started my journey of grief and long COVID. So I had to, again, navigate this whole new experience. Thankfully, I had the resources and the knowledge to know what long COVID was. I was like, this isn't long COVID. This is a trauma response, a nervous system regulation. This is my body in pure survival. And so I use the same resources to start, retraining. I literally had to incrementally train with physical, all of that stuff. And then I brought in somatics for the trauma work. I really started to connect to my body and do more of the inner child and the parts and grief work. And the grief work, boy, was that a new thing, definitely a new journey. And I healed from long COVID within a couple months. The grieving is lifelong, and so I'm gonna walk with my grief and live with it. And but it doesn't feel like it did. It's something that's helped me grow tremendously. And so now I teach and help others do the same, essentially. And I'm happy to be here with you guys today. So that's all from me.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And this is what's great is along this road of healing, we've been able to meet, a very select few people that are in this to help people heal because it's their heart, and Vanessa is definitely one of those people, and we're always happy to be able to collaborate and do things with her. And so you guys know, like the whole purpose of this is we all sat down and we're like, what can we do to help the community? It doesn't matter what chronic illness you're dealing with, if it's fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, Lyme disease, long COVID, whatever label it is that's attached to it. If you look at all the symptoms and sensations and stuff, generally speaking, they are all fairly similar. And I'm going to explain exactly why. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for sharing, Vanessa. I appreciate it. We're going to talk specifically, I'm going to talk specifically about neuroplasticity, what it is, the role of stress and emotions and how it plays into your chronic illness, and how the brain can adapt and changes over time when you do use neuroplasticity. So For my story, and I know Joe's, and I know Vanessa's, and while we all don't have a very identical story, I think one of the things often we look for is, oh my gosh, their story is just like mine. What have they done? I need to do exactly what they do. Well, there's no one size fits all approach, but when it comes to dysregulated nervous system, I'm going to explain how it works and the role that it plays in becoming chronically sick. So, never in the history of man has chronic illness existed in the way that it exists now in modern society. The food that we put into our bodies is generally absolute garbage. Stress for a human has never been higher than it's been now. We are constantly attached to these as our dopamine fixes. The level of exercise that we now get is become just increasingly less. And I know some people lived in the gym, I did too, but we're not outside working the way that we used to, and we're not getting vitamin D. We're no longer connected to nature. So those are all things that pull in. And then you factor in the fact that we have more stress, like I said, than any other time in history. And you factor in some traumatic events, which I'm sure generally, not everybody, but generally speaking, most people, and I'm sure that Vanessa can agree with this, most people that I've talked to that have experienced chronic illness have had trauma in some form of it looks different for all of us, whether it be a death, abuse, a terrible relationship, and we carry that with us throughout our entire life. We don't realize until we begin to address it. And then even still, as we address it, it is always still going to be a part of us. So what happens is as we're kind of carrying that around, we're like an elevator. Every single stage of our life, we're adding something on, and we're noticing that the elevator is progressively taking more time to get to the top and to get to our destinations. And what happens is you add an opportunistic infection, a virus, Epstein-Barr, Lyme disease, COVID, or whatnot, and it is the perfect storm, what we like to call Event X, where everything just crashes. And what happens is, for some it's progressive, but what I see a lot is it's like you're driving through life and then all of a sudden you hit a wall and your life as you know it completely stops. You no longer are able to enjoy life. Some people get stuck to the couch. And while there's milder versions of this, what we find when someone's nervous system's completely shot is it is a full shutdown. You're now anxious, you're depressed, your heart rate's all over the place, your digestion's off, and all these whole myriad of symptoms come in. And what happens is you begin searching and trying to grab for any diagnosis that you can get. You're going from doctor to doctor. All your blood work's fine, or maybe sometimes it's not fine. And you're just searching for answers, and you're trying treatment after treatment after treatment, not realizing that you play a vital role in your own healing. So what happens when we're exposed to these levels of stress, and we're not being kind to our bodies because we're taught that in society we need to work, get money, be that perfect person. And the pressure has never been so immense to be that perfect person because of the facade of social media and all these different things. And subconsciously we carry this weight. So when we crash, nothing else matters but getting our house back. I used to tell people all the time that I would give away everything I own, and I lost everything I owned. I had to file for bankruptcy, but I would give everything I know just to feel healthy again. And I think everybody reaches that point. So when we get to a point where our body's completely shut down and we're searching for answers and the doctors don't know what to tell us, this is where looking at your nervous system really comes into play. When your nervous system becomes completely compromised and dysregulated, your immune function's down, your digestion's off, your, everything that your nervous system controls, your heart rate. Some people get palpitations. And generally, we don't talk about symptoms just for the sake of relating to you guys tonight. The majority of the symptoms that you guys are feeling, pain, is because of the nervous system dysregulation. Now, you do still have that opportunistic infection, virus, bacteria that is in your body, but now because your immune function's down because of your nervous system being completely shot, your body's just it's just throwing up red flags, and you get stuck in a perpetual state of fight, flight, or freeze. Even if you don't feel it consciously, it's happening subconsciously, and you begin dumping cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstreams, and next thing you know, you are feeling like absolute hell, and you're just stuck in a loophole, and your doctors are telling, oh, it's just anxiety, or oh, here's some meds for depression, or hey, maybe we did find something, here's an answer and solution, but you're still chronically sick. And what we found, and while none of what we're saying tonight is medical advice, what we found is that in the realm of chronic illness, doctors do a great job at treating, life-threatening conditions. But with chronic illness, it's never really something that you can go to a doctor and say, hey, I've got a solution for you. It's unfortunate. So if you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, long COVID, CFS, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. You find yourself getting online, we get into these support groups, and what happens is not only were we dysregulated in the beginning, now we get into the section where we start information searching. And they tell you that knowledge is power, but I don't believe necessarily in this case where we start turning to these support groups that it is empowering, because we now enter into echo chambers of fear, desperation, symptom talk, and nothing ever good comes from that. So the role that stress, all right, and emotions play in chronic illness is we've never addressed that, and we go to the doctor and he never says, hey, look, we need to calm your nervous system down. Or maybe they do, and they give you Ativan, or they give you a benzodiazepine to calm your nervous system down, and next thing you know, you're stuck in the loop of being on some pharmaceutical drug that every 4 hours you're in rebound from. And for some people in short doses it works, but that's what they're essentially trying to do, is to calm your nervous system down. But what's great is you are completely capable of doing this. And what happens when you calm your nervous system down and you regulate things is your body begins to enter into a state of homeostasis and then begins to function as it should. Your immune function raises. Guess what? Your heart starts beating the way that it should. Your digestive tract starts to clean up. All these things start clearing up. So that's kind of the role of stress and what it can do to your body. Neuroplasticity, as we talk about it, the neuro part is obviously meaning your brain. Can you guys still hear me? Fine, Vanessa?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, so the plasticity part of the plastic is meaning that your brain is still formable. Like once you're in a certain state, it doesn't mean that you're stuck there. For the longest time, science believed that once we hit our 30s, our thoughts, routines, habits, and rituals were stuck. You could not change who you are. So the idea is if you became stuck and sick with a chronic illness, that if you were anxious, if you were depressed, if you were constantly caught in these thoughts of ruminating illness, that you could not change that. Well, emerging science now shows that not only your thoughts have so much power and dominion over your body, that you can change your brain, that you can form new neural pathways. And what happens in dysregulation is these neural pathways automatically go to the worst case scenario. Like, what if I go out and I do this? Or what if I pass out here? And it's all based in trauma, guys. And we have to begin to address and unpack the trauma that's associated with that. So neuroplasticity in a nutshell is what we're doing is we're teaching you how to form new correct neural pathways that direct you towards healing. It is very hard work, but it's been successful with a lot of people treating strokes. And that was the main field of research, is traumatic brain injuries and strokes. They were using neuroplasticity to help patients regain limb control and be able to speak again. And what we found is that the brain was actually capable of helping heal the body in a way that we weren't really privy to. Now, and I'm okay talking about this, the pharmaceutical industry would love to throw a prescription at you and say, hey, this is going to help you get better, when in all reality it doesn't. Brain retraining, neuroplasticity, and nervous system regulation for the most part is the cheapest option to get your health back, and it works 100%. So the last part of this, before I kick this over to Joe, is how the brain adapts and changes over time as you begin to do neuroplasticity. So if you were to do a program, or you begin to do the work, or watch YouTube videos, or however it is you do neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation, the first month that you get into it, it's going to be incredibly difficult because you're going to reach resistance. It's like, I use this analogy a lot. When we're sick, our mind automatically goes to the worst case scenario. How many of you guys understand that? Like, as adults, we don't think about what can go right today. We think about what can go wrong. So, many times I know that you guys, and maybe some of you guys struggle with driving, you've driven somewhere and you've gotten to that location and you don't remember the drive at all. Well, guess what? Your subconscious took over. And I want you to think of that as one of your negative neural pathways. Those thoughts come automatically without any sort of thought or action. It automatically, if I go to the store today, what if I pass out? Or what if I get in the car today and drive and I freak out and I can't do it because my nervous system's so fried? Or what if I don't live past tomorrow? And we stop living our lives. We completely halt and we stop experiencing joy. So what we begin to do when we do neuroplasticity is we begin to take a detour. So imagine, if you will, if you're driving and you come to a detour and you're really sketched out because it's this road that you're unfamiliar with and you're worried it might take you longer and you're unsure because you have to have your hand on the steering wheel and you have to be conscious of every turn and every light because it's not familiar to you. The other is, while it's not comfortable, it's familiar. So our brain automatically fires that neuron down that path. When you begin forming this new neural pathway, when we say forming because it's not instant, the more that you do it with the more repetition, you have formed a new neural pathway. The more that you do it and wake up and say, hey, today could be a great day. Hey, today could be a great day. I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for this. I'm going to go out for a walk and I'm going to tell myself that I'm not going to feel dizzy or lightheaded or pass out. And you will in the beginning. We're not saying that you're going to wish or think your symptoms away. But the more that you begin to do this and calm your nervous system and signal safety to your body, guess what? Those new neural pathways start to form. And instead of when you wake up first thing in the morning and what could go wrong today? I don't feel great. Let me check my pulse. Why am I having trouble breathing? Why am I in so much pain? It's, man, I hear the birds chirping. I'm thankful to be alive. I'm going to go for a walk today. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do these things that are healthy for my body. And as you begin to do this consistently, and that is the name of the game, if you want to retrain your brain, if you want to regulate your nervous system, consistency is key. You can't show up a couple times a week and expect to change your brain. As you practice consistency in this, you will start to see change. It's not an overnight thing. It does take work, but that is essentially the science behind it, guys, is we're forming new neural pathways that lead us into healing, that regulate our nervous system and ultimately bring us to a state of homeostasis where we're not dumping cortisol and adrenaline into our bloodstreams constantly. By having those thoughts of what can go wrong and all these catastrophic thoughts will happen if you leave your house or you go to the grocery store or whatever it is, our fears are all different. Guys, those wreck and destroy our lives. So that's kind of the first part of it. I'm going to kick it over to Joe, and he's gonna
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about nervous system regulation.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Yeah, that stuff's so important just to understand like how we can change and how our brains can change and help us heal because you know, years ago, 10 years ago, this was seen as a lot of like woo-woo spirituality, a lot like and and there was not a lot of science behind it. Like now, a lot of this stuff is rooted in tons of science. There are like peer-reviewed journals, there are universities, there's doctors, scientists studying this stuff and seeing, a lot of how this works. And we often have a lot of people read "You Are the Placebo" by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which has a ton of science behind it. But I wanted to go into the nervous system states and what we experience when we're dealing with a chronic illness. I know a lot of us, we experience these myriad of symptoms when we get chronically ill, and a lot of them are due to, like Josh mentioned, that event, whether it's Lyme disease or long COVID and stuff like that. But a lot of it's also due to the states that you get thrown into when you get into that dysregulated nervous system. you know for any healthy person living today, we experience various states of our nervous system on a daily basis. We go into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system states when we're healthy and we're regulated. So someone cuts you off in traffic, you get angry, you get anxious at doing something, and then you go back to a regulated state, and we're fine, and your heart rate evens out, and your symptoms, you don't experience those fight or flight symptoms. We've all experienced that when we were healthy, fight or flight, feeling anxious, feeling fearful. Well, when we get chronically ill, and kind of like Josh using that analogy of the elevator, and it's like our nervous system just goes haywire and shuts down to the point where now we're either stuck in that state of fight or flight or that shutdown mode, and now we're dealing with the symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system 24/7, along with things that are causing inflammation, whether it's Lyme or whatever these things are. But the truthful thing is that our body can coexist with a lot of different microbes and a lot of different things that we're dealing with when we begin to regulate the nervous system, but it is hard work. So a lot of you probably already know this. If you're on this call, you've already dived into a lot of nervous system work and neuroplasticity. But if you haven't, our body generally functions between 2 or 3 nervous system states, depending on what sort of model you follow. There's the parasympathetic, which is like the rest and digest, when we're feeling calm and collected. There is the sympathetic nervous system state, which is the sort of fight or flight, and that's the anxiety, fear, all that sort of stuff. And then there is, the model of the polyvagal theory, which is, 3 nervous system states, which is the ventral vagal, sort of the rest and digest, state where we're calm, collected, everything's fine. The sympathetic nervous system state where we're, stuck in fight or flight, dealing with more irritability, anger, whatever, difficult emotions, feeling, dysregulated. A lot of people experience insomnia, or, that sort of feeling of, tired but wired, feeling like you're plugged into a socket type of deal. And then there's the dorsal vagal, which is the sort of the shutdown state, the disconnected, the flat, the anhedonia, emotionless, the loss of, drive to do anything, fatigue, terrible fatigue, and things like that. And these are the nervous system states that we predominantly get stuck in when we're dealing with a, dysregulated nervous system, inflammation, all of these things. It's pretty much you're stuck in the sympathetic or the shutdown state. And you tend to often kind of fluctuate between those. I know that was the case for me for many years. And then when I relapsed, 2 years ago, I could tell where I was at. I was just in those states. Now I was also dealing with healing my body, but what helped me heal my body was helping to lift myself out of those states of a dysregulated nervous system, of the, sympathetic nervous system state, of the shutdown state, even while, my body was, fighting off infections and things like that. And that's kind of what I want to go into to kind of help you guys understand how to get out of those states, and understand when you're in them, sort of, that it's not some sort of thing that you're stuck in. You can absolutely help pull yourself and lift yourself up out of some of these. But like Josh said, takes work, and it takes time, and it takes consistency. We often want to, illustrate the importance of consistency and of doing the work, when you're healing. People will often, dabble in this sort of stuff, and that's great, from time to time, getting into a visualization or, vagus nerve exercise or whatever, what I'll go into. But the real work is when you stay consistent and committed to this type of healing through the good, the bad, and the times when you don't feel like doing things, the times when you are in that sort of shutdown state and you just want to lay on the couch. Like, these are the things that are tough to deal with, but these are the absolute times when you need to be doing the work and doing the things that can help heal your nervous system and ultimately heal your body. So I'm going to go into some of these things that have really helped me heal, helped Josh heal, and I know that have helped Vanessa and countless others heal. And I'll kind of just briefly go over some of the techniques for regulating your nervous system, regardless of what you're dealing with. If it's long COVID, Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome. So the first one of the things that I really believe in, and I know Josh and Vanessa will talk about this, is visualization. Visualization. When we're chronically ill, we got sort of stuck in that state of focusing on everything that's going wrong, and we get stuck in focusing on our symptoms and how bad we feel, and we're just kind of in the perpetual cycle of just doom and gloom. And visualization is a great tool for us to begin to get out of that present reality of what we're stuck in, and to begin to visualize ourselves healthy, or visualize ourselves in safe environments, so that our body can then start to form those new neural pathways and also regulate our nervous system to lead us in the direction of health. When I began doing this type of visualization, and I know we hear it all the time. People, I can't visualize. I can't visualize. I couldn't either. Like I'm sure a lot of you, everyone else who's experienced it was the same way. It takes work. It's a practice, like anything we do, whether you pick up a sport or whatever. So don't give up when you just experience that resistance about visualization. But it's a really key tool with helping to retrain the brain, help heal the nervous system. And there are several tools that you can do. There's several ways to do visualization that help pull you out of that. We do meditation visualization things. There are different guided visualizations that we really lean into. Um, and then there are people that have uh, sort of guided. I know Vanessa has some guided visualizations that she does as well, that she offers. But it's really up to you to begin to experience getting out of the present moment and into your new state that you would like to be in. And the great thing about visualization is there's all this emerging science behind visualization and actual effects in your body. So we bring this up in our class and we talk about it often. There are simple things like when you visualize yourself eating a lemon, like you automatically have the bodily response to as if you were actually eating a lemon. But there are also all these studies that show people who they did like a select group of people who worked out and exercised, and those who just visualize themselves working out. And the people that just visualize themselves working out still have like an 18% growth in muscles, which is crazy. Like this is how effective our 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 mindsets and our brains are in actual affecting our physical reality. So when people say it's this is just woo woo stuff, you can actually really look at the science now, and really see how it actually affects your reality. Through brain waves and EEGs and all of these other scans that they do. But there are tons of other things, and I'm going to briefly go into them before I send it over to Vanessa to pick up how you can start doing some of these things. But there are things that we do on a daily basis, like gratitude practice, daily gratitude practice. We get back into some form of movement as well. Moving your body has been shown to help repair the brain. Getting back into walking, getting oxygen into the body. And there are ways to safely do that through things like Qigong, yoga. And these are things that we really, really subscribe to, as they've really benefited us. Deep breathing practices really help calm and regulate the nervous system, especially when you're stuck in that state of the sympathetic nervous system, when you're in that fight or flight. And you're feeling all of those symptoms and sensations. Something that we do on a daily basis, and I do whether I'm feeling dysregulated or not, is I often do deep breathing practices to calm and regulate the nervous system. And there's tons of study that shows this to be effective when done routinely. And there's the 4-7-8 breathing practice and the box breathing that we often subscribe to. And then there are specific vagus nerve practices that are really helpful. Some of these things are, the eye movements that you'll see. There are things like vu breathing, there are om chanting, and some of it's silly, and some of it, it's not even, some of it's not even weird. Like some of it is just like singing and, humming, and these things actually help, with the vagus nerve, which the vagus nerve, directly, helps heal and regulate your nervous system. It helps put you in that parasympathetic state, which we want to, again. But this all takes time. It's not a one-time do it and it's fixed. It's a routine thing. It's you do it daily, even when you don't always necessarily need it, and it constantly builds that resiliency. The last thing I want to talk about that often goes overlooked, and I know Vanessa is gonna briefly talk about this as well. One thing that really helped me when I was healing from chronic illness and now is overcoming fears, beginning to take action again in life. And I do this through the what a technique that I learned through through a book about acceptance and commitment. And I think this is something that we often forget about when we're chronically ill. You know, we fight against our illness, we fight against everything that we're dealing with, and we also forcefully try to heal. Um, and one of the biggest things to help lower that stress and that inflammation and help regulate the nervous system is that acceptance piece that is so key. And it doesn't mean you like, or you would now enjoy your symptoms, or that you've accepted you're going to be chronically ill. It's more so you accept yourself and the situation as it presently is, that you cannot shift it in the moment, but you can take steps to change it. So when you take that acceptance piece and you allow yourself to feel how it is you're feeling, and not forcefully try to control it, it actually lowers stress and inflammation in your body and helps. The commitment piece is the next piece, and this is kind of where I go into facing fears and taking action again. And this is something we really talk about. It's getting back into life and doing things that we love to do, once loved to do, things like that that are really, really helpful. I often think some of the most healing things that you can do for your nervous system are finding positivity and joy in your life through action, even if you can't feel it in the moment, right away. So, for some people it's reading, some people it's, um, taking walks, some people it's, spending time in nature, whatever it is for you. And then some of it's, getting back into life, doing things, activities that you once loved to do. And I know a lot of us are chronically ill and we struggle with that, but there's a way to incrementally do that. And I know Vanessa is going to talk about some of this stuff as well. But I believe that's another key piece when people are healing and regulating their nervous system, that often goes overlooked, is that reintegration back into life. To do things that we once loved to do, or that we look forward to doing them even while we are dealing with symptoms, actually will go a long way in helping to heal your nervous system, heal the symptoms, and help you get better. So I'm going to end there. I know it's a lot to go through, guys. We go way more in depth in this stuff, and we will deal with it a lot more in future webinars. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Vanessa, who I know is going to expand on some of this and talk about some other things that are really going to help you guys. So,
Thank you, Joe. That was great, guys. Lots of information, and just really good tidbits of knowledge that I think we all need refreshing on. I know that I forget sometimes too. Like, I know most of us on this healing journey can totally forget. But since you spoke about vagus nerve, and I thought maybe it'd be great to just all breathe together for a minute. What if we did some VU breathing, just to kind of, shake things up and get that state, shifting our state. So essentially all we're going to do is we're going to activate the vagus nerve by breathing in, and on our exhale, we're just going to say VU. So VU sound. And I always like to mimic the sound of like a boat coming into the docks, like VU. So let's do this together. We're going to breathe in, and we're just going to exhale with VU. Place your hands on your belly so you can feel the vibration. And let's do it. VU. Let's do that again. We'll try for a set of 3, okay? One more time. Breathe in. Just notice your state. I know I feel better. So that was, again, just coming off of what Joe shared about some of the simple tools you can use. I mean, the best tools are free. Let's put it that way. A lot of the times, right? We have access to these, but obviously a lot of us will need support through this journey, right? And we'll talk about that later. But what I'm here to talk to you about is a lot of the mindset and the power of our words and just the way that we speak. And what I'm sharing with you today is essentially the foundational piece of what I teach to my clients. And so I'm going to start off by reminding you, it's not your body, you're not broken, it's your brain, and your brain can change. Your brain can change. So how do we change our brain? Well, we talked all about that today, power of neuroplasticity, brain retraining, signaling safety, and all of that. And I'm going to just preface to say there are many, many, many pathways to healing and safety. Right? And so no one has all the answers, but the things that we share, there is research and evidence to prove that these things work. I mean, I can't even count how many people I have seen who have completely recovered and gotten their lives back from this work. So I'm going to start off by talking about reframing your symptoms. And those of you who know me will know all about this. But our symptoms, what are they? Well, what if we called them sensations? They're just sensations of activation in the body. They're not harmful. They're just sensations. And what's interesting is when I come across, let's say my husband, for instance, people are like, oh, I, had a pain in my arm. It was so funny, I ignored it, whatever. He doesn't make a big deal of it. He has the sensation without the story attached to it, right? Versus someone who has this diagnosis of chronic pain or fibromyalgia. And be like, oh no, a brain, alarm, alert, there's a story here, there's an experience. So what if we just call them sensations? They're also information. So information from your nervous system saying, hey, listen to me, something feels off, or we're not okay. They're also messengers from the survival brain telling you this doesn't feel safe. And they're patterns of protection, right? They served us once, right? These symptoms came to serve us once. They served a purpose, but they no longer serve us anymore, right? In the past, maybe they helped us get our needs met, but we're choosing different now, right? So they're not working against you. They're working for you. So remember that, right? So get rid of symptoms and use these. Words, let's talk about words next. Words are powerful, how we're describing our situation. Our words bring things into reality, right? They create our reality, the way we speak about things. So if I were to ask you guys, how are you feeling? What would you say? I know for myself, when my husband would ask me, or say my mom would call, how are you feeling? Like, oh, I'm struggling, I feel awful, I feel like I'm tired, I'm 50, whatever it was. And I didn't realize that at the time, how I was speaking was creating my reality, right? So let's think about this. Do you ever refer to your symptoms with ownership, like my anxiety, my depression, my pain, right? Are you talking about your symptoms all the time? Are you constantly saying, this? Are your labels, let's say, becoming your identity, right? We see this all the time. I know Joe and Josh know this, where, you create an Instagram page, it'll be me and CFS, or I am POTS, or, stuff like that. And are you speaking what you want or what you don't want, right? So just some, questions to just consider here. So we want to watch our words. We want to be really careful. So if any of the things I spoke about related to you, I want you to know that the answer also lies with you. So you have the power to change your words and therefore change your experience, right? And these are really small changes that I made in the beginning of my healing journey that I get all my clients to make initially that have profound, really big impacts. So we don't want to take ownership. Okay, guys, this is not my migraine or my symptom. It's just a part of me. It's just an activation. It's just a sensation, right? They could use, say, these symptoms or this experience or this part or these its, whatever it is. The symptom is not you. Yeah, it's a part of maybe past trauma, right? It could be a part of protection, but it's not you. And so my invitation to you is to let that identity go. You are not your symptoms. You're so much more, right? And so one thing I get all my clients to do, and something that I did for myself, is to create a new vocabulary around these words, right? These labels, these diagnoses. So sometimes we do need to communicate to our family what's going on. And instead of saying, for instance, I am having a migraine, or I am in, fatigue, or whatever it might be, I came up with a different little vocabulary. I named all my symptoms to fruit, and we were able to use these as these code words, right? So for me, migraine was melon, nausea and like GI stuff was raspberries, pain was bananas, so on and so forth. And when it was a lot of symptoms, we would like have fun with it. My kids would say, "Mommy's having a fruit salad today," because it was like literally every fruit. But yeah, this is just a really fun way to dismantle and uncouple the power and the fear that these labels and identity, these labels and words hold, right? We don't need that anymore. So that simple change, I'm telling you, shifted everything in my household. And to this day, my family still uses those. Like my mom, literally, she'll be like, "I had a melon today." I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting," and so it works. And it really just lightens things up, right? Because this can be a really hard and dark journey. You don't have to explain yourself also. Say you're, I don't know, seeing a friend you haven't seen for a while, or you have, say you go to an event and people are like, "Oh, how are you?" I know in the past I would have just blah, everything. Like, "Oh, so this is what happened," and like, "This is what happened. I was in the ER again, and I'm on this medication, and whatever, this is how, but how did it happen? Oh, I had a parasite," and no. We're re-traumatizing ourselves every time we bring it up, and we don't need to explain, right? I know a part of us wants to be heard, but it's not necessary in that exact time to redo this over and over again. So I would always say, "Thanks for asking. I'm doing my best. Each day I'm getting a little bit better." Or I'm doing this program and I'm rewiring my brain and I'm getting closer every day. And sometimes they'd be like, "Oh, cool. Tell me about this program." Most of the time they'd be like, "Oh, okay." And they'd be out, right? Which is fine. But again, you don't have to explain. And this is a big one. Speak what you want, not what you don't want, right? These words have energy, right? They put out this vibration. You're really literally bringing things to life with the power of your words. And okay, so let's say your friends and family are asking you how you're doing, right? I gave that example of my mom calling, "How are you doing today?" And I'm like, "I'm exhausted." Well, what do I want instead? So I would say, I could be more energetic, right? Say I had a high pain day, I could be more comfortable. Or I'm really anxious, I could feel more calm or balanced or regulated. I could feel more joyful and excited. I could feel more fill in the blank, and I'm working on it. It's only a matter of time. Do you see the difference here? Now let's talk about, so we have the power of words. Let's talk about unnecessary stressors quickly. So as we're on this rewiring journey and regulating our nervous system, we can identify and choose to eliminate certain unnecessary stressors in our lives. Obviously, we can't eliminate all stress. Doesn't happen. We can't heal in a bubble. In fact, we shouldn't heal in a bubble, because then we don't build capacity or resilience. But there are some not so obvious stressors that we do have the power to control and choose differently. And these are a lot of them having to do with what we're consuming. So I know, Joe and Josh talk a lot about diet, right? So just being mindful of what you're consuming. If you're eating Doritos and pop every day, it's probably not supportive to your journey. And again, consumption-wise, what are you watching? Are you watching like adrenaline-packed shows, or the news that is catastrophizing every situation? Is it something that's very fear-based when you're watching this? Are you feeling it in your body and constricting? If so, no, get rid of it, right? We want to watch things that are, elevating, that are comforting, maybe nostalgic, something that maybe you're going to learn from, right? Something that makes you laugh. Same thing with what you're listening to. So are you listening to podcasts that are, again, are fear-based, that are spreading fear and, really activating that stress response? Or are you listening to things that are elevating, encouraging, podcasts of people who are healing, music that's elevating and uplifting, all of that? And then how are you moving, right? So we always talk about movement and how important it is, and Joe talked a little bit about this. And for myself, obviously I was bedbound for a while, and obviously moving wasn't as possible at certain stages, but when I could, I started to do a little bit of movement and use these tensor the resistance bands, and just started to even just move my thighs slightly, like the lightest ones possible, just to start moving. And again, incrementally, it started from then, but obviously walking is like the best thing for your brain from a neuroplastic perspective. And then who are you connecting with? Okay, this one's important. So are the people that you're choosing to connect to life-giving, or are they pulling you down? Or are they solidifying an identity of sickness and illness, right? These are really important things to consider. Are we in these groups that are all based on illness, or are we in groups that are life-giving, bringing us hope ropes and belief? So those are important things to consider, right? We want to connect with communities of self-healers, just like Joe and Josh have this amazing community, and myself have, on Instagram and all of those places, right? We want to make sure we're following people who are in alignment with our healing goals. And then finally, practicing outcome independence when it comes to this work. So obviously we all have a goal in mind. We all want to get better. But if we're showing up to like every practice, every tool we're using with this intention of completely shifting and healing, and then not having that experience, and then that cycle of shame and pressure and all of that kind of circles around, then we're literally keeping ourselves stuck in a state of stress, literally. So can we let go of the pressure, right? And instead of thinking of the goal as the symptom needs to go away, or I need to shift immediately, or whatever it is, this fix-it mentality, can we move away from that and just recognize that whatever we're doing is good for us, that we love ourselves enough to do this work, that eventually we're going to get there, that the brain and body are listening, and every single time you show up for yourself, something's happening. So even if you can't see it yet, change is happening, right? But you need to keep showing up. No one's going to do it for you. It just doesn't work that way. I wish someone could. If you could hire someone to like, hey, could you rewire my brain? I'll pay you everything. But yeah, it's literally about little bits of regulation, letting go of the pressure, and practicing compassion. I had zero compassion for myself, zero. I had it for everyone else, and I bet many of you can relate. But as I started this journey, I started to realize how necessary it was. And I had to see this work as a gift to myself. Like, I'm loving myself enough to show up, loving myself enough to do the work, and showing up for myself because I deserve it, right? Because I'm worth it. And also just, recognizing that this is hard, and it's okay to feel whatever the flows of emotion that come with this is hard, and it's okay. I love you anyway. And if we didn't get everything done in today, that's okay. As long as we keep showing up every day in some way. Some days are going to be so expansive and we're going to do so many things. And there's other days where we're going to be kind of contracted, and we have to be okay and practice that acceptance that Joe talks about. Recognizing like, oh, I recognize where I'm at right now, and it's okay to be here. But I know I'm not going to stay here. Yeah. But now that I am here, how can I signal or send a message of safety to my brain? How can I love myself through this? So that that is what I had to share with you guys today. I hope you found it supportive.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And kind of with all that, guys, and tying this all together, and we're going to do a quick Q&A session with you guys to answer any questions that you may have. All the science aside, all the, this aside, what we want you guys to know above everything else is that you can heal, that you can get better, that this isn't some, that this isn't some dream or whatever. Like, when you begin to get your health back, when you begin to get your life back, there's no price tag that can be put on it. And one of the amazing parts of doing the work that Joe, myself, and Vanessa do is we get to witness that firsthand. And I don't feel like there's a greater calling than seeing people heal and come back from what everybody told them that they couldn't. And I think even parts of us believe that we can't. And when we shift that belief system, so much of it changes. So from the bottom of my heart, and I know both of these two on a pretty personal level, guys, if I could literally just take, all of us could spend an hour telling you our stories and just how severe they were and how scary it was and just how we never thought we were going to make it. And to be coming out on the other side now, there's just, like I said, there's no words, there's no price tag, there's nothing that can be put on it. So for the 27 of you guys that are listening tonight, I want you guys to leave this with the hope. Our friend Vanessa talks about hope ropes, something to hold on to, but the hopes that spur you towards belief, and the belief spurs you towards action. And guys, your action, there's so many tools in here. You can follow us. I'm sure both of you guys follow us on Instagram. If you're not, you should. We don't put out advertisements or anything like that. I think that's actually our problem is we don't advertise. But we constantly are sharing tools and tips and tricks, and just Vanessa's page is just amazing. She's right on spot, guys. But that's the sort of content that you need to be taking in on a daily basis. Vanessa said, be mindful of what you're taking in. I don't follow any garbage on social media. If it's not related to my healing, I don't follow it. I don't watch things on TV that are going to set me off. So anyways, we could all go into tangents for hours because we eat, sleep, and breathe healing, guys. So again, from the bottom of our hearts, we truly hope that you take something away from this that you begin to use consistently. So with that said, what we're going to do is we're going to take about 5 to 8 questions depending on the time frame, and the format that we're going to use is we would like you guys to type it out in chat. Joe will take the first one, Vanessa will take the second one, I'll take the third one, because I'm sure that we could all give very in-depth, elaborate answers to all your questions. But we want you guys to, everybody to be able to get in as many questions as possible. Then after that, we're going to, Vanessa's going to explain exactly what it is she does. Joe and I are going to explain what we do. And, we're going to talk a little bit about community and the importance of it when you're going on a healing journey. So with that said, kindly guys, if you have a question.
Yes. There's one already in here. I'll take this one.
Yeah, go for it. And then,
yeah,
we'll take questions one at a time. So after this, if someone could just write down a question.
Yeah. So the difference between shutdown and rest and digest. So pretty much, rest and digest is what the majority of a healthy people experience on any given day. The shutdown state is more of when we feel sort of disconnected, from reality. You're dealing with really bad depersonalization, flat, and hedonia, which is like not being able to, experience even emotions really. Very lethargic, fatigue. A lot of people when I've been in that shutdown state, I haven't even been able to like watch TV. Like I haven't had joy in anything, and I experienced that for many months, if not years at times. When we get out of that state, typically we go through what is the we kind of have to go into the activated state of the sympathetic nervous system, which is more anxiety, more you might have more energy, sometimes things like that. And this is where people, I think, kind of freak out and forget about the nervous system states, and they think, oh my god, I'm anxious, I'm in this state of fight or flight, I have to change it. Sometimes it's your body coming out of that shutdown state, and you experience sometimes more anxiety. more a little bit of a dysregulation another way. And when you get into the rest and digest, now you're in that state of expansion of like, looking forward to things to do on a given day. You're more joyful, you're more grateful, you're more um, open and engaging, and you feel more like yourself and things like that. So the shutdown is you go super introverted, withdrawn from society, things like that, withdrawn from people. Typically when I've been like that, I don't want to talk to people. I want all the lights off. I want to just be in a hole in the corner of the room. When I get out of that, move through the sympathetic nervous system state, which is sometimes activating, and back into the parasympathetic or the more regulated state. Now I'm out living life. We're doing things. We're wanting to do things. So be patient with yourself as you're working through these. It is not a quick fix. Like Vanessa and all of us said, you show up for yourself on every single day, doing the right things for your body, and your body will move out of that state of shutdown in time. And sometimes it takes months, months of doing this, and you'll slowly see glimmers of getting back into that state of the regulated parasympathetic state where you feel calm and relaxed in your body, and you may even experience some joy or some laughter or some wanting to connect with people or wanting to do things, and that's how it's working. So I hope that helps. I want to keep it pretty short. I know we got a lot of questions, so we'll try to go through some. And
Yeah, Vanessa, did you want to grab the one that Sammy Funk asked? She said, "My provider keeps telling me I'm living in mold, and that's why I'm so
Oh,
sick."
okay, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I was prepared to answer Lauren. I thought we were going
oh,
consecutively.
Oh, did
I
we skip
don't,
over
it's,
one?
we had one right after the one Joe just answered, which
yeah.
Oh,
was,
yeah, 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 yeah. Go for
Janine,
it.
do you want to go consecutively that we don't get
Yeah, yeah,
lost?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go consecutively.
All
I got
right,
it.
so Lauren, she asked, when I do something like read a book, go run an errand, I feel guilty, like I should be doing something to help me heal and move the ball forward. Thoughts on this? I'm so hard on myself. Again, this is probably that part of you, the perfectionism, the one who pushes, the one who wants to achieve. Again, these are mostly based in trauma response. And so, what if you were to look at this different? I invite you to look at it different. What if reading a book was healing? What if going to run an errand was part of your healing? These are ways for you to, again, reading is connecting to different part of the brain. Running an errand is that, incremental training, getting back into life and doing things. You shouldn't be healing all day long, is my point, right? Because then you're in this fix it mentality. And so what if you had your practice that you did throughout your day? I always like to kind of weave my practice throughout the day. So a little bit in the morning, maybe something on the go throughout my day and something at night. But what if that's enough? And you can say that that is enough. And now the living is just important as the healing. The living is just important as the healing. All right. You're next, Josh.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
So I'm gonna knock out two really quick, guys. Is there like a schedule approach to each day in the beginning? Absolutely. We believe that creating healthy routines, rituals, and habits as you go through neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation is very, very, very important because we're trying to break old habits of living. And generally, our old habits consist of waking up in the morning, grabbing this death device, mindlessly scrolling till we get out of bed at 11. So yes, we believe that creating a schedule that's conductive to healing. And it's almost like brushing your teeth. If you don't brush your teeth, what happens? You get cavities. In the same way that Joe and I talk much about movement in the morning, whether it be yoga and walking, and then meditation and visualization and doing all these things. And they should never be looked at as work. They should be looked at as something like self-care, like brushing your teeth, taking a shower. They're that important, if not more important, specifically when you're in your healing journey. So that's the first one. The second one, my provider keeps telling me I'm living in mold and that's why I'm so sick. Now we are moving, but the move approaches, I'm getting sicker. So I think that, and again, guys, we're not giving any medical advice here. We're simply talking as people that have gone through these situations. I had a very, very bad run-in with mold. I didn't share my whole story. I was living in a tent on my back lanai in Southwest Florida heat, which if for anybody that's been down here, we talked about it a little, it's 102, 103 degrees in the summer. So I'm living in a tent during this. long story short, I went to a Target, I stripped down all my clothes, I got rid of everything I owned, I traded in my car and bought a new car in the Target parking lot. I bought new clothes, put them on in Target, and got in my car because that's what my fear was associated with mold. I do believe that mold obviously can be detrimental to your health, but I also believe that you can heal while you're in it. When you're saying that, as the move approaches, you're getting sicker, I would reframe that statement too, that you're getting sicker. Now I know that you're not feeling well, but I also think that maybe there's in the anticipation of all the what ifs. Am I going into a new situation? Is it going to be worse than this? Am I going to be safe? My answer to all of this is, how do I send signals of safety during the big life changes? Remind yourself that you are the safe place. You are the safe place. It's not a house, it's not a couch, it's not a car. You are the safe place regardless of where you go. And unfortunately, on this healing journey, there are situations that we can't quite change. So what do we have to do with them? We have to radically accept them. And that's not always a feel-good answer. But when we respond to them with fear, we're creating this massive monster that we're every day having to go to battle with that doesn't even really exist. Yes, the mold is real. Yes, the reaction is real. But as we continue to dysregulate our nervous system by blowing the situations up and constantly thinking about them and ruminating on them and obsessing them, that's where it really begins to make you feel really sick. So I would say during this, as you go into the move, visualize it being something that's going to be healing, something that's going to help you along your journey. Speak it, write about on it, meditate on it, visualize it, and then do what you can to do it. Unfortunately, what I see is a lot of these mold groups online, just like heavy metals, and I believe that there's some validity to all of this. I'm not saying that anybody should live in mold, but what happens is we go down rabbit holes and we develop obsessions about these things, and it's uncomfortable. I developed an obsession with mold. I couldn't go anywhere. I became agoraphobic because I thought there was mold anywhere. My car was cross-contaminated. I couldn't come near my wife because she was coming from, and there was mold in her building. And I see Vanessa shaking her head, and I know that Joe knows, and we see a lot of students that come along this line. But when we're able to let go of the fear associated to it, and like Vanessa said, when we let go of the symptoms and refer to them as sensations, and tell ourselves that we can't change the mold exposure right away, so we're doing what we can change until we can get out of it, until we can get safe. Because eventually when you do get out of it and you regulate your nervous system, I'm not saying everybody's going to snort lines of mold, but we do get to the point where we're able to we're able to go to places that we weren't able to once before. And for me, I couldn't go to Home Depot, I couldn't go to all these places, and now I go and I don't even think about it anymore. So I hope that helps. You are the safe place, and remind yourself that during this, if you can't change it, accept it radically until it can be changed.
Yeah. I'll take a couple, like these two are kind of similar. They're the one best way to deal with big life emotional stressors while healing. And then someone also said, how do I deal with major setbacks, Lyme, cancer, and other big surgeries and these, journeys as we're trying to heal our nervous system? I think, Vanessa even says we don't heal in a bubble, and we cannot heal in a bubble. I cannot tell you how many different stressors I've experienced over the last year and a half while I've been healing. But the thing about it is, when you're healing this way, these are actually sometimes good things that we need to go through. We need to build that nervous system resiliency, and when we experience these levels of stress, there's there's healthy ways to, sorry guys, there's sirens going off. I don't know if you can hear it. There's healthy ways to handle stress, and there's unhealthy ways to handle stress. If you're doing this type of the regulation work while you're going through the stress, it doesn't mean you're not going to experience stress, but it's going to help pull you through it, and maybe not let you fall into that state of full-blown flare and relapse and all of this stuff, so you don't stay stuck like that. There have been Josh, and I'm sure Vanessa can attest to this, when we go through these stressful events, symptoms are going to flare up. You're going to feel worse at times. And I literally had it happen like 2 weeks ago, guys. I still go through it sometimes, but I don't look at my like a chronic illness like, oh my God, my Lyme is flaring. I'm like, no, I'm under more stress. My nervous system's in activated state, and I've got to just work with this, and it'll pass again. And so you want to stay doing the regulating tools, and accept where you're at, and know that it's going to change as you are doing the work to heal your body. Again, I believe that when we experience these stressors, these things happen and we work through them, there's even bigger healing on the other side of it. I've had it happen so many times where I'm like, oh my God, I'm in this stress loop. Like I feel like all these symptoms are back that I haven't experienced in months now, and I go through it sometimes a week or two and I'm in it a little bit more. And then I come out on the other side. And then the next, week, me and Josh are racing our cars. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like we're back doing more than we were doing even prior to it. So like, don't look at it as like, don't become so fearful over stress. Know that it's part of the healing journey, and that when you work with the stress and you do the right things for your body while you're going through the stress, sometimes even more healing is on the other side of it. So don't be so fearful of it. It's actually in a lot of ways a good thing to help build that nervous system resiliency as you're going through it. I know it's tough. It's not always what we want to hear, but stress is part of life, you know and these events are part of life, and we cannot heal and avoid certain things. Like I've had deaths in my family while I've been healing. I've had emotional triggers and things like that have been tough, but I've worked through them and experienced healing even with these things going on. So I hope that helps, guys. I know Vanessa,
Yeah, I'll take
Vanessa.
Melissa, I guess. So she's talking about that, the idea that she's different. She has this diagnosis and the fear that brain retraining nervous system work is not going to help because there's this physical diagnosis and she's not going to, fully get there, and she's just fearful of, the physical stuff. And what I'll say to this, I actually did a video on this week about, because I get asked this all the time, is the nervous system work going to be beneficial for, this, and everybody sent me messages all the time for this. And yes, some of these things are physical things. And what I said, and what I will continue to say, is this work is life-changing no matter what you have, no matter what. And I will also say that I was given physical, right? Again, they said I had severe damage from small fiber neuropathy, and that I would be in pain for the rest of my life, and that, this is what it looked like, and here's the evidence. And then there's other physical stuff that I've been diagnosed with, and I don't have any symptoms at all from it anymore. It is, completely gone. I don't identify with it at all. And it's been years. And I have seen people that I've worked with who have, again, healed from things that don't fall under the umbrella of nervous system stuff. The body is such an incredible healing vessel, Like, we don't even understand the capacity of it. We really don't. We don't even understand the capacity of the brain and what it can do. But I have seen with my own eyes people heal from things that, doctors will say you shouldn't have healed from. And I will say that even people with, physical challenges, let's say, so I've worked with people who had other challenges physically, and by doing the brain retraining work, the nervous system regulation, all of that, they have healed. And not only that, it's okay to receive, other support if there is something else going on. I've dealt with people who have had cancer and stuff like that, and they're, getting certain treatments, but the nervous system work helped them be able to tolerate it. And their system came into a place of healing and rest, digest, repair, and recovery. And so just because the doctors have said this is what you have and this is what you're going to deal with, and nothing can, we've all heard it, you're never going to get better, this is for life, get used to it, it doesn't mean that it's true, right? So they don't know everything, and I'm just inviting you to suspend a disbelief for a minute and hold on to the what if this is what I need? What if this is working? What if this is supportive to me? And the only way to find out is to continue to show up every day. And you have the keys to the kingdom here. I keep saying that because it is true. By renewing your mind and regulating your nervous system, you are literally setting yourself up for the best possible life ever. And again, to face any challenges that come your way, because stuff happens. We all know stuff is going to continue to happen, but these tools are for life. Honestly, they're life-changing. So I hope that answers your question. And someone just commented about Rabbi Rach. I love her. I know her very well. And she has some incredible testimonies of things that she has recovered that doctors, she went and did a bunch of surgeries and didn't feel any relief. And then she started the brain retraining work and she got that full relief. She is like literally climbing mountains, like literally now. And she's absolutely incredible. So nothing is impossible.
Yeah,
Nothing is impossible.
so true.
I'll answer this one question, guys, and then we've got to move on. And for I don't know how to pronounce your name. It's Cordelia. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but you said, do you have any recommendations on MCAS towards meds, especially? I find it hard when doing brain retraining with chronic infections, UTI. It must be something I'm doing. How do you find a balance between getting out, figuring out what's not working to dive into your brain? Well, first of all, this is something that I did, and MCAS is 100% a nervous system thing. I'm sure Vanessa sees people with MCAS as well.
I've
As
had it.
I had it too. I had it with medications. I was reacting to everything. When I said that I couldn't go in Home Depot, it wasn't because of the actual mold in there. It was because I was reacting to the chemicals. I went in with a massive ventilator mask on, like that had the side things, and I would wear it. Like I was at that point, and ultimately, when I began to regulate my nervous system, I stopped all the foods that I was reacting to, that resolved all the chemicals. I still use healthy products because I just feel that there's stuff that shouldn't go into our bodies. But you said, how do you figure out a balance between getting help and figuring out what's not going to dive into brain retraining and believe it'll help? So here's the thing. I'm not sure what help exists. There's no medication that you can take for MCA. I mean, there are things that can help with histamine issues and whatnot, but I don't necessarily think that falls into the role of MCS. So with me, with nervous system retraining, what I found, and it took a lot of time, and what I found for me and what I found for hundreds of people that we've had come through is they do have a reaction to something, and then they develop a fear, and then they react to a lot of things. And for some people, it's very difficult to hear because it's not that it's psychosomatic, but when we start reacting to everything, and I'm going to give this example, and I love telling the story
Yeah.
because it shows the power behind it. And when someone used to tell me that it was fear-based, I used to become so angry, like, oh, you don't believe me. No, you're having a real reaction. But if our brains are capable of healing, if we're exposed to something in fear, is it quite possible that it could produce a reaction to try and keep the body safe? Absolutely. 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 So I had told myself I had an anaphylactic reaction to peanuts, and I ended up in the hospital. I thought I was going to die. They kept me overnight, and I was then told, I read online that I should stay away from high histamine foods. So then I convinced myself that I would have a death reaction to all high histamine foods. I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to this. And when you get to the other side of this, you can truly see it. But when you're in it, you're angry. You're like, this person just doesn't believe what I'm saying. And they don't understand it. I do. I really do. I still got 2 EpiPens that I carry in my bag with me. That is a fear chain that I'm trying to break. But I would carry Benadryl, benzodiazepines as they're a mast cell stabilizer. I would carry my EpiPens. Like that's how I lived life for 17 years. And what had happened is Joe came to live with me for a while as we were both healing together. And he eats almond butter, which I had convinced myself that if I ate almond butter, I was going to die, and not just die, but it was going to be a horrific death. I ate sun butter, and inside my fridge, this dude puts his same colored. It had a green label. Mine had a green label, and I'm such a creature of habit that I'd take a scoop of sun butter, I would put it in my cereal, I would put my coconut milk in there, and I would go upstairs and I would sit down and I would eat it and not pay attention. Well, I'd stuck my spoon in and I grabbed his almond butter, I put it in my cereal, and I'm upstairs eating. And I'm eating, and there's no issues. I didn't really notice the taste difference because I put it in with milk and not real milk, but coconut milk, and I ate it. And about 25 minutes goes by, and I'm fine. I'm just sitting on the couch chilling. And Joe comes upstairs, and he's like, "Bro, you ate the rest of my almond butter." I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't. There's no way. I would die." And the moment that he told me that I ate his almond butter, my throat started to feel like it was closing. I developed hives. I was getting flushed. I'm sitting there. I call my wife. I'm like, we might need to call 911. Joe's like, bro, calm down. You're okay. You're okay. It's been 20 minutes. You're going to have a real reaction to this. It was going to happen. And once I began to calm my nervous system down and show myself that I was safe, guess what? I don't react to almonds.
Yeah.
And that was slowly, yeah.
Same with me. Literally same story, except it was an almond cookie. and I had no idea. And I literally didn't find out until the next day.
Wow.
Right.
Oh yeah, those were gluten-free almond cookies. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
crazy,
with
This is
right?
it goes
right.
into the placebo and the nocebo effect, guys. We
100.
talk a lot about this. Like our brains have the ability to create reactions where they may not be there at all, just based off of our beliefs. So
Yeah.
it's really
And
crazy.
And you said a couple other things that I wanted to touch on. I'm so fearful on the way I'm getting so thin in the elbows and stuff like that. If your response and most of your action is in fear, there's a lot of dysregulation that has to heal. And we're not saying, hey, if you've had real reaction to these that the doctors have confirmed anaphylaxis, go out and expose yourself. Obviously, talk to your doctors about them. Have him, go over things that you're having, like bee stings. Both Joe and I have a real reaction to those. But I was convinced that I was going to react and die to all foods. I got down to 3 foods. Um, I couldn't take anything. I was constantly taking a mast cell stabilizer. I would go if I had an acute infection like I had, and I know this is a little lengthy, but I think this is important. This is a lot of people that need this. I had developed, what is it, strep throat, which you have to take an antibiotic for. You have to get rid of that infection, or it can ultimately become deadly. I was so convinced that I was going to react to the antibiotics that I went and took the prescribed antibiotics in the ER hospital parking lot because I'd already convinced myself that I was going to have anaphylaxis to it. And when we have a real reaction to one medication, our mind then begins to respond in fear out of self-preservation for that. Also, when you begin to do neuroplasticity, a lot of these chronic infections like UTIs and stuff like that, we've seen that people that are regulated begin to clear these chronic infections because your immune system starts to work and it's not constantly stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze state. So there's a lot of hope for you. Like I said, I believe that brain retraining 100% is the way to go for that. And this is not what I'm suggesting that you guys do, but if you talk to an allergist and he asks you, how do you get over an allergy? He'll tell you slow and controlled,
Exposure.
exposure
Yeah,
to
yeah.
these things will ultimately lead in getting past the allergy. Now, we're not saying go out and do that, but ultimately, guys, our bodies are capable of healing from these things. And a lot of them are real, but they develop a fear response and has us, like Joe said, the nocebo effect can actually cause reactions inside of our body. And people don't want to hear that when they're in it. But I can tell you, as someone that's from the other side that literally lived in obsession over this, it's 100% the truth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate all the questions, guys. It's been great. I think we're gonna kind of close it up and go into some stuff. We'll talk about the giveaway that we're doing. I know that I think what is it? Vanessa's next gonna kind of talk about
Yeah,
the
she's going to
Haven
talk about it.
membership. What she's giving away. We're gonna talk about the journal and then we'll close it from here, guys.
Yeah, so we'd encourage you guys to stick around to the very end. We're not doing the giveaway. I know people are kind of funneling out, but Vanessa's Haven program is worth sticking around. It's great. Same thing with the journal and the No BS Healing Guide, guys. They're free, so
Yeah.
stick around another 15-20 minutes, and we'll explain how we're giving those away. So Vanessa, did you want to share a little bit
Yeah.
about your Haven program and what people can do and how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I know most of you.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of you are in my program in Haven. But essentially, what Haven is, it's not a typical program. It's really not a linear program either. It's a healing companion. That's what I call it. And really, what I did was I wanted to create something that would emulate that coaching experience with me, right? So it's filled with practices that help you regulate your nervous system, cultivate safety. There's 2 sections. One section is all on nervous system regulation. So in here, I have like SOS, little talk downs that you're needing in the morning, in the moment when you literally forget everything that you've learned, because I know that happened to me. And so these are, limbic system talk downs, pep talks, reminders, everything that you're needing to know with sensations. These really help rewire the brain and get these new thinking patterns in. I have EFT tapping and sequences for limiting beliefs, the most common ones that keep you stuck. Guided visualizations for state shifts, vagus nerve somatic practices, guided practices that help you connect to your parts, inner child, build true self. I have a faith section for those looking to incorporate their faith. a monthly class, which I do where we usually do a practice and a live Q&A. And I also prioritize my Haven members for one-on-one coaching with me and have a private Facebook group. And then I have Haven also has a grief section. So grief is big. It's huge on this journey. Every single one of you is dealing with some grief, because what is grief? It's loss. So there's loss of ability, loss of health, loss of safety, right? So many losses. And so I really felt guided to bring these resources to the community because there's nothing like it. And what I've, learned from working with hundreds in this community is that the grief aspect is keeping people stuck. Not all the time, but it is a really big piece of it that as we move through it, we can let it go and move forward and really step into that life. And so I have resources and education on grief. I have comforting messages. I have meditations, guided practices, journaling. And I also have this incredible somatic section as I'm a trained grief movement guide and a bereavement educator. So I've literally poured my heart and soul into this section as well. And I'm also launching next month a grief group experience that's going to be 10 weeks of meeting with me every week. We're going to go through the resources together, and really I'm going to teach you how to grieve. And as part of this membership, you also have access to all my workshops. So I've already done a visualization masterclass that was hugely successful, an incremental training workshop that, just was amazing. And I have these all in my membership, and I actually have a workshop coming up. One of you asked this question about healing with kids. I'm actually doing a
The apple
workshop.
cheese thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually doing a workshop for healing with your family and how to get them involved. There's going to be some practices to do with your children as well. And I'm aiming to have that out in sometime in May. So stay tuned for that. Follow me on Instagram, YouTube. I've got some recovery podcasts coming out really soon, actually, first one this week. And yeah, I don't think, if you have any questions, feel free to message me and DM me, but I'm going to be giving away 1 month free to Haven to one lucky person here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Vanessa. And guys, this is obviously we're all mind body practitioners, whatever, healing guides, but what we found is that Vanessa has been a great complement to people that are doing the healing dude. She addresses things that we don't, and I feel like vice versa. And for us, for you guys that don't know, we offer a 90-day healing boot camp that we've been running for about a year now, and it's been incredibly successful. And what both Vanessa and the Healing Dudes have tried to do is offer cost-effective solutions, because we understand what it's like to go through all of this and to not have any money and be like, okay, well, where can I dump my money into a resource that I really know is going to help me? And Joe and I are heavily involved. It's not like you buy a program and you get something in the mail and you just sit there and you have to work through it alone. Absolutely not. One of the things that we've prided ourselves on from day one is cultivating a community where people heal together. And our boot camp is a living, breathing community that is healing together. We've had retreats where people have gotten together. Just now, as we're speaking, there's 8 women from our class that have come from all over the country. People that didn't think they could drive, people that didn't think they could fly, that didn't think they could leave their house. They are all celebrating one of the girls in our class getting her life back. She wasn't able to drive for 12 years. She just bought her first car, and they all came to celebrate with her. And that's kind of what we believe, is that healing is so much more successful when done in a community. And we know that neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation can be very, very, very hard work. And, Haven, I know that, Vanessa does one-on-ones, and she's such an incredible soul, guys. And same thing with us. Joe and I are very direct. We're raw, we're rough around the edges, but we care more about your long-term healing than your short-term emotions that are lying to you about being sick. So upon coming in, Joe and I run a live Zoom on Thursdays and Sundays, where Joe and I will talk about the science, tools, tips, tactics, behind our, program, and the procedures and habits and rituals and all that stuff that needs to be changed. In the last half hour of each of these classes, we open up to you guys to be able to ask any questions that you have, ask for guidance, and most of all, we get to hear people sharing wins in their lives. And we have a lot of them every single week, and that gives people enough hope and belief to continue to do the work. Upon coming into the class, you will be assigned a healing accountability group where there's 3 to 4 people, and these people will essentially become your lifelines. You're going to share victories, hope. I mean, if you're struggling, these are people that you're going to reach out to, as well as a live breathing community that's active even as we're speaking. There's people blowing up the chat right here in Facebook, even as we're in this class. There's people in here. I know that we have some people in here that are in our class, but ultimately, guys, if you're looking for very cost effective options to heal, both what Vanessa has and what we have are, I think, the cheapest that are out there, but we're the most involved. And while we do protect, our own sanity because we do have 50 people in the class, Joe and I regularly engage with the class every single day, making sure that people are where they need to be at in their journey. And it's not just neuroplasticity for Joe. For Joe and I, Joe has his master's in nutrition, and he's going to talk a little bit. We put a heavy emphasis on nutrition because we believe, and not only believe, science dictates that nutrition is important to healing, as is movement, as is facing fears. So we have our 4 pillars as well as neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation that we implement, and we see people get their lives back. And the reason that it's a 3-month boot camp is we don't think that you come in for 3 months and you're instantly better. We're the first ones that'll tell you this will be the most difficult journey that you've ever taken.
Yeah.
And I think Vanessa would agree with that. And outside of that, 3 months is enough to set a firm foundation on having these healthy rituals, routines, and habits to then begin to pursue getting your life back and regulating your nervous system.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're looking for a place that is a community that, you're going to heal with people, we're not an echo chamber of fear. Like, you'll hear stories of healing success. And, Joe and I are very authentic. If we're having rough days, we also share that as well. And that was our goal in creating this, is to share our whole healing journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, and to let you guys know that we're in it with you. And it's been a life-changing experience for both Joe and I to see people get their lives back and heal. And I know it's the same thing with Vanessa. She's helping people in other realms with neuroplasticity, but also with grief. And I know that she's unfortunately lost her father, and I know that that can play a large role in your healing. And if it's not addressed, you just don't get better. So, both are great options. And I'm just going to kick it over to Joe to share whatever else.
Yeah. So did you mention the journal and the guide, Josh? I don't.
I did.
No. So we also have like cost-effective options. Our healing guide, which has our 4 pillars. Our healing routine and our resources. We have that, which is what we're going to be giving away. This is a $25 option. Anyone can purchase it on our website. And then we also came out with our journal, which I wish I had a copy. So it's a 90-day healing journal, and it's basically all of the stuff that we do on a daily basis. Josh and I use it every day. It's all of the same, things that we do. It's called Do the Work. Josh has it right there. It's a 90-day journal that has writing prompts every single day. We initially opened it up only to people in our class, but it's now, you can buy it on Amazon as well. We're going to give one of those away as well. So these are of cost-effective ways to just, if you're self-motivated, if you're willing to do it yourself and you don't feel like you need additional things, these can be kickstarters in your healing journey. Again, but the additional levels of support with Haven and what Vanessa's doing, and then our healing boot camps are another great way to add on to that. Healing is not a quick thing, nor is it just a few tools and you're done. It's a complete lifestyle shift, I believe, guys. And I know that Josh would say the same thing. And it's about doing the right things for your day for yourself on a daily basis, and then being patient with yourself, consistent, and then seeing the fruits of your labor in action take place over the course of time, and you can absolutely heal. So I think that's about it, guys. I know we're gonna
I just
do.
want to add, Joe.
Yeah.
So while we do, I'll offer this separate, guys. 100%. Like when you do sign up for the boot camp,
Oh
you
yeah.
do get the journal and you do get the No BS healing guide. So it is part of.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly. It comes with it, so you don't have to buy that, up front. But yeah, again, yeah. So cool. Yeah. So this has been great,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you so much. We are gonna do a giveaway. I don't know if we have we've been trying to
Yeah,
coordinate. Yeah. Okay. We're good.
So for guys, I would encourage you, like I said, stick around to the very end because you might be. I think we went through and we did it at random. There's a lot of people in here we don't know, but did we agree upon Chantel? Is that what we wrote?
Yeah.
Okay, Chantel. So you've won this, a month of Haven, and our No BS Healing Guide. So what we'll need you to do is to get in contact with us either here
Oh, yeah.
in the chat. Also, Vanessa, if you could put a link to Haven. I know that a lot of these people were in our class or are in our class or in Haven, but if you want to put a link to Haven where they can sign up if they're interested. And it for all things the Healing Dudes on Instagram, we're at the Healing Dudes. And if you are interested in the boot camp, we have affordable monthly options for it as well. You're welcome to sign up on the website. It's thehealingdudes.com, where we have all of our products and services if you feel that you need help on this journey. Like I said, it's rare that you see people collaborate that are generally, doing the same thing in business, but I feel like Vanessa offers a very, very different perspective to what everybody else is doing out there, and the grief approach is very, very, very big. And she's just an authentic human, and I'm sure most of you guys have been through her Haven and stuff like that. But we're grateful that she took the time to do that with us. Like I said, Joe and I are rough around the edges, but we're very real about this, and that's one of the things is we're not very buttoned up. We don't lie about the healing journey. We're not going to buy followers or any nonsense like that. I speak very directly. But here's the thing, guys: if you're looking to heal with practitioners that's heart is truly in this and that haven't lost vision of their mission is to help people get better, we're absolutely here for you. So hit us up on Instagram with any questions, or I think Vanessa's is the grateful guide.
We're grateful, God.
Yeah, Your Grateful Guide on Instagram.
Yes.
And follow her if you're already not. We're at the Healing Dudes, and yeah, we appreciate you. Chantel, did she say anything in chat?
Yeah, shit. Thanks, guys. I think we have her email, so we'll send you an email with stuff. So, yes.
Yep,
Thank you guys so much. This will be recorded. We'll post it either on our website or on YouTube. We'll figure that out after this. It'll probably be posted tomorrow. So, if you need to rewatch it, or if anyone that was not here, they can watch the replay. So.
And most of all, guys, remember what we said from the very, very beginning. Let everything that you heard tonight resonate with you. Believe. All right. We talk about hope, but believe you can get better. That's the first part of this. There is no one in here that is too far gone to heal. There is no story that we've heard tonight that said, I could ramble forever, but we have people in our class that have had brain surgery and are in wheelchairs that have gotten so much of their life back, that participate in archery, that date, that have full lives now.
Yep.
So there is no one in here, unless even there's no one in here that is so far gone. Your case isn't the exception. Your case isn't so rare, because so many people say that.
Yeah.
So as you leave tonight, guys, go to bed knowing that I can get better. I can get better. And there's plenty of resources on Vanessa's page, and there's plenty of resources on our page, and we offer a lot of free content, guys. And our goal isn't getting rich. We want to see you guys get better and pass it on. So, Vanessa, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that these guys are the real deal. I don't just collaborate with anyone. I see their hearts in it, and we've had many candid conversations about how we can help more people. And we're all still healing in very, many ways, right? Like, I'm moving through grief. Some days are harder, and these guys are really honest. And that's the difference, is we are showing you guys with authenticity exactly what it's like. We're not, sugarcoating anything. This is how it is. It's hard, but we're walking it with you. And, and we're doing that for a reason, because we know how hard it is. We just know. And so these guys, I'm just honored to be working with you guys. So glad that you invited me, and that we kind of came up with this awesome idea. And I hope to do more of these. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely will do more in the future, guys. So
thank you, guys. It was great seeing you. I hope you guys all have a great night. And remember that you guys can't get well. Have a great night, guys.
have a great night.
Going to West Side. West Side.